I got Trace will be gone overnight. And the stuff that needs to be done, they're going to folks that don't have kids and are married. That was like 25 years old.
It's just a nonsense.
Yeah, there's so much time that, you know,
I got it. What is it,
As soon as you fly to like New York and then fly out Atlanta. I've never been able to play that long, so I'd be crazy.
I watched a lot of movies.
Oh, that was just too big for those big guys.
You ready to go? Gardner City Council will come to order. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We've got three presentation items this evening. The first two, we're going to celebrate with some of our employees, and we'll take a little break and have some cookies and coffee. And then the third presentation, we'll get some training from NPR. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. We've got a number of 5-year employees, 15 years, and an old timer, huh? Well, first we're going to start with Carl Cook. Come on up, Carl. All right. Carl, congratulations. Thank you very much. Carl's been with us for 5 years. Carl's a wastewater operator. Obviously, it's a very important job, something that is critical to the town certainly, but also critical to the health and wellness of the surrounding communities. You know, everything that we process goes into Kill Creek and finds its way up to the Kansas River eventually. And so the requirements that we have for treating that are challenging and often changing.
Yeah.
And a lot. And so it's a tough position that we have, and also considering the topography of our community, that we actually pump everything for the most part. Mm-hmm. And so we've got a lot of things going on in wastewater, and we appreciate everything you do for us, and that's absolutely important. I don't know, David, if you want to.
Oh, sure. Thank Carl for getting things going. We have, I think, as the Mayor alluded, we've got about 19 or 20 lift stations, and basically everything flows away and we pump it back. So it's kind of like water. Sewer's usually a gravity system and water's a pump system. Well, we have a gravity water system and a pump sewer system.
So anyway, we do have a certificate of appreciation. Thank you so very much. You want to say anything?
No.
No? David. Oh, there he is. All right, just in time. I like that. Hey, how you doing? Good. David's also in wastewater, and he's a maintenance worker. Been with us 5 years, and we were talking about the all those pumps and everything that are in the system, and maintaining all of those sewers that we have is a tough job, and a job that I think a lot of us are very glad that someone else is willing to go down in there and
Go in,
it's a tough job, but we're certainly glad to do it. We're proud to have you. I guess you should have just stayed up here.
Well, actually, in line with the repairs, that David being not real tall, there's one device we have, it's called a bar screen. And the bar screen catches stuff flowing through the sewage, and then it has an auger that puts it in a dumpster. Well, the auger failed, and it was basically the building was built around the auger, so they needed someone small to get down at the lower end of this thing. David was the lucky fellow to get down. But they were very successful and fixed it.
All right, but anyway, thank you very much, sir. Anything you want to say? We're glad you're here as well. I understand Marcus is here. Oh, there he is. And Byron did not make it, right? All right, sir. Well, Marcus is been with us 5 years as well. He is with Gardner Electric, journeyman lineman, yes? Yep. So he is one of those lucky fellows that is out when the ice is falling and the lightning's flashing and the rain's pouring down, and people are wondering when the lights are coming back on. And so that's a challenging job and a dangerous job. And proud to say that our team does it very safely and does it well, as a matter of fact. We keep the lights on here most all the time. Very, very rarely do we have any long outages. Yeah, there was that little ice storm, was it 10 years now? About, yeah, when we had that little thing that, everybody lost out on that one. All of you are aware that the electric utility is under the board. The board's here tonight for some training, so you're lucky that you've got all the governing body and staff here to congratulate you as well. Bill, I don't know if you want to come up and say a couple words.
Well, as the mayor said, Mark is one of our journeyman linemen who's been with us 5 years. He actually went through our 4-year lineman apprenticeship program and completed that about a year ago. Mark's a really talented and skilled individual. In addition to being a journeyman lineman, he's a master electrician. He brought that with him to Gardner Energy, and in addition, he's training to be a journeyman meter tester. Bill Andrew is our journeyman meter tester right now, and Mark will follow Bill in that job. That's a very important job because the accuracy of our meters is very important. We obviously want to send out electric utility bills that are fair and with no problems, and so Mark is responsible for that too. He does a great job, as does all of our Gardner Energy employees. And as the mayor said, that sometimes they work in not the best of conditions. And I won't say they do that gleefully, but they do it. And we appreciate it very much. So thank you, Mark.
Oh, there he is. All right, this is Ms. Mary Bush. Mary is our HR manager. She's also been with us 5 years. It's hard to believe that it's only been 5 years, hasn't it?
Oh.
I know. A lifetime of learning in that 5 years. Mary came to us from her own business, actually, and she had a small downtown business here in Gardner, and the building is the lawyer's office now, isn't that right? Is that, I think, I can't remember. Anyway, so prior to that, Mary was in HR with Telecom Works, if I remember correctly. So Mary's done a good deal to improve our policies, elevate our policies, and has worked and partnered to put in place a fairly extraordinary safety program, and which has done great things for all the employees and great things for the city. We're very proud of that, and is also responsible for supervisor training as well. We've got some good programs get put in place under your watch. Melissa, any words? You're not supposed to say it.
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work and effort over the last 5 years. I know that when you came in, we hadn't had just a specialized individual over human resources, and you know that you've taken our organization from where it was at then to where it's at today, which is an amazing transformation. Never have to worry about where we're at in human resources, and certainly I know with risk management we've really turned the corner, and I know we'll be talking about that later tonight, but just amazing person, and always a pleasure to be with you every day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then Lisa Wells. Lisa is Mary's partner in crime. They make up our HR department. Lisa's a HR specialist here, and has been just a little bit less time than Mary. Just not much though, not much. Lisa has also been through that transition and has done a lot of work to bring us up to the level we are. I mean, we have a lot of policies that have changed and evolved in the last 5 years, and I know you've been a big part of that, and we very much appreciate everything that you've done. Mary, a few words?
Absolutely. All of you that have the privilege to work with Lisa can, I'm sure, share in my sentiment that she is one of our shining jewels, our crown jewels here at the City of Gardner. And I have the privilege every day of working with her, and there isn't anything that she won't do, that she can't do, and it's always with a smile and grace. And she's truly grace under fire, and I just want to thank her. And I'm sure all of you that have that opportunity, most of you work with her even closer than with me, that we thank you, and I can't believe that we've got to spend 5 years already. So thank you.
All right. Matt McClure. Matt is not able to make it. Nope, he's not here. Okay. Now, do I get to keep this then? Is that right? No, your call. Here we go. Your call. All right. Officer Clark, come on down. Ed Clark is obviously one of our officers here in Gardner Police. I've known Ed both on and off. He's worked part-time at business here in town. I know he's worked with my daughter, and so we've had we've known each other for a good long while. We have an outstanding police department here in Gardner, Kansas. You guys do a fabulous job with what we have to give you and the challenges that you have with the city that's grown. You've seen some changes. The patrols take a little longer now than they used to, but we do great work here. We get fantastic feedback from our citizens about the quality of service that you provide, and for that we're very, very grateful. Yeah.
Chief apologizes he couldn't make it tonight. Like I said, he's been with us for 5 years now. He's one of the few of the older ones we have here that actually didn't start as a reserve, but he came on board with from ground zero and has worked his way for the last 5 years, and definitely pulled his weight throughout his shift, working morning, noon, and night, and doing whatever he needs to do to get the job done. I appreciate your years of service.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. Come on down. Okay, Lee Kraut. And I've always known Lee as Lee, but I guess his given name is Harry.
Yep.
And
Not very many people know you.
I know, and so that's a great thing. Lee has been serving our community for 15 years, and I know you've done a lot of different things in the police department. Obviously, you've seen us grow from public safety and then changed to police only, working on investigations and in addition to the normal work of policing. You get a lot of positive feedback on how you work with local citizens, and I appreciate that very much. I like hearing, the good things when you see the email that says what a great job someone's done. So we very, very much appreciate that. The League of Kansas Municipalities actually also recognizes service at 15 years. So there's a 15-year award, I'm sure, with valuable jewels entrusted in the award. Captain?
Well, once again, Lee actually started as a reserve with us. He was a reserve, I believe, for a year before he went full-time. So he actually came in and put in his dedication prior to going full-time. He's worked his way up through the ranks, and he's currently assigned to our investigations division. He almost missed tonight because of a case he's working on, but we got him cut free long enough to get here to get this taken care of. And but he has served in other capacities within the department as well as a road sergeant, and like I said, now he's currently in the investigations. And appreciate your 15 years of service.
Thank you. All right. And we have one more. This one is a 20-year veteran of the force. Kurt, come on down. Kurt Hollingshead has been a fixture in our community for a lot of years, and I've known Kurt for all of those 20, I'm sure, and he does a fantastic job. He also is a very community-minded officer and views enforcement as a vocation and a privilege, and not a heavy-handed tool that we use. It's a great attitude toward community policing, and you also may see Kurt in a variety of costumes from time to time, trading his Glock in for a Colt. six-shooter occasionally, and he also works on reenactments here for the local historical society. I know his family participates in that as well. It's a fun thing and a neat thing to be part of the history of this community and then keep the history of this community alive. Sergeant Hollingshead's been, like I said, with us for 20 years, and I've appreciated every one of those years of your service. So, Kurt, thank you very much. You bet. Yeah.
Well, as you can tell, we all like to hang around for a long time. Kurt was actually a reserve officer with us for 3 years before he went full-time. I know early on he was passed over, I think, once, but he kept his head at the grindstone and kept plugging along, and eventually got hired full-time. He too has worked himself up through the ranks of the department to sergeant, and he's currently our senior sergeant. He's been with the department longer than the rest of them, so appreciate all your hard work over the last 20 years, and thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Oh, wait a second. I forgot. You also have a jewel-encrusted. All right. Our next presentation this evening is something that is we recognize the employees for working hard at their own wellness and keeping themselves healthy, so that they're here and they're here to serve, and not use that sick time that is so often needed. But the fact that we haven't needed it for these employees is a great thing, and it's certainly a testament to their dedication. We've got 3 exempt and 9 non-exempt employees. I'd like to bring up Laura, Captain Moore, and Jeff Stewart. These folks have not used any accrued sick leave during 2001. Or 11. Sorry. I know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And that's an extraordinary feat. I hope that they were healthy all of those hours that they were here, and that they weren't working through certain illnesses. But I know that that there were probably times when you would have loved to have just turned off the alarm and pulled the covers up and stayed in for a few more hours, but you didn't. And so we very much appreciate the dedication in serving our community. So, thank you very much. Oh, no, I would never do that to you as well. So the rest of the... All right. Well, Jim and Jeff, I'm terribly sorry. Apparently, oh wait, there we go. It's always in the last place you look, right? Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Now that I've shuffled everything, I will attempt to do this in order. Mike, are you here? Mike Green? Nope, didn't make it. Okay. We know Kurt's here. And for our non-exempt employees, the standard is using 8 hours or less of sick leave. Those of you, Mary and Lisa, are very familiar with the labor laws in the U.S. We have to manage exempt and non-exempt differently. So our exempt folks, or excuse me, our non-exempt folks have to take time when they go to the doctor and do all those kind of things. So not using or using 8 hours or less is a significant feat in a year's time, and that is an extraordinary testament to their dedication. Kurt, I know you're in here somewhere. And here we go. Here we go, sir. Thank you very much. All right, Ruth Lundy. Ruth is another fixture here. And she has been the face of the police department for a lot of years. Being here every day is a significant event, and we very much appreciate your dedication. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Thank you. On to Gardner Electric, and then utility billing. Well, this is kind of a team approach, I think. We've got Brandon and Karen McCollum. Brandon's here. Is Karen here? She is not. She is not here. Okay. Can I trust you to take this home to her?
8 hours.
Huh?
I get the 8 hours.
You get the 8 hours? Okay. All right. Brandon, as I said, he's with Gardner Electric, he's supervisor, and Brandon has not used any accrued sick leave during 2011. That's an amazing. That's a tough thing to accomplish, and we very much appreciate you doing that and appreciate your dedication. Thank you, sir. You bet. Oh, Joanne. Joanne's another face of Gardner. Joanne is in our billing department, but you see her at the front counter, and sometimes those days aren't the happiest in many cases.
There isn't a day that goes by that isn't.
It isn't.
No.
Customer service is challenging. It really is. Folks come in and they're not pleased in some circumstances, and to face that every day and not succumb to the temptation of just saying, maybe this Wednesday I'm going to stay home. And you have it. And we very much appreciate the dedication. I know we do. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're very welcome. Amy's utility billing. She's a supervisor, so she has a little bit of a buffer for a very brief period of time when it comes to customer service. It's some of the more challenging issues get escalated, and I know Amy always handles them with cheer and with definite concern for the folks that we're serving. And again, to not take the time off in circumstances that are often difficult is a tough thing. I very much appreciate your dedication. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Officer Olucci. Joe, I saw you somewhere. Ah, there he is.
Yeah, not my name.
again, and recognition for using 8 hours or less. You know, I have talked about police service to this community. I know, Joe, you've been serving us for a good long while, and I've known you for a good while as well. And the hours aren't great, and the weather conditions aren't all that hospitable in certain circumstances, and occasionally there's customers of the police department that choose to smear Crisco all over themselves, and so... Parquet, okay. Some sort of vegetable product, but it's a, you know, it's a tough job, and it's a real kind of dedication it takes to stay with it, and work the overtime as well. I appreciate that service. Thank you. And Lisa, I'm visit one more time. Again, I've talked about Lisa's dedication earlier, and this is a demonstration of that dedication. And she doesn't take sick leave, but she does take vacation once in a while. Places that have palm trees and sunsets. That's a good thing, and that's an important part of the job as well. But thank you so much for your service. Thank you. Great. All right. Well, we're going to take just a brief break so everybody can congratulate everyone here and visit a little bit. And we've got some cookies and coffee, and please help yourself. And we'll get back to business here at about 22. Okay, great.
Oh, yeah?
Hello, how are you? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with our final presentation. This is Public Officials Liability Training from NPR. It looks like we might as well just stay up here and...
Oh, no, don't move, you're fine.
And go from there, and I would suggest that we can watch, so don't worry about putting your back to us as you go through, because we have a number of folks out here that need the training as well. So, Melissa.
Mayor and Council, tonight we have with us the folks from Midwest Public Risk. They are our property and liability carriers for the pool that we joined into as of December 31st. And we have Courtney Kroger with Kutek Rock, and then also Jason McMahon, who's with NPR, and he's one of our staff representatives for property and liability. They're going to be here tonight. They're going to show a video, and then they're going to just talk briefly about some concepts related to public officials' liability that is important for everyone who serves on our council, boards, and commissions to be aware of. So I'm going to turn it over to them and let them go ahead and start their training.
You want to just run the video first?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, hello, Dan. Congratulations on being elected as a council member.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm real excited about attending my first meeting and being sworn in, although I'm a little nervous.
Nervous? About what? You were elected by a landslide.
Well, there are several things I'd like to accomplish. But I'll be the first to admit, I have a lot to learn. I don't want to end up like former Councilman Smith. I want to have a successful term, but I don't want to end up being sued.
Hey, Dan, you'll be joining us tonight.
Hey, Bill.
Hi, I'm Margaret Taylor. I've been a council member here with the City of Cottonwood for 10 years, and mayor for the last 2. During my time with the city, we have made a lot of progress, but also a few mistakes. Certain members of the council have created messy liability situations that have cost the city a great deal of money, hurt our public image, and stalled important projects. And in some situations, elected officials have paid personal liability claims out of their own pockets. The purpose of this video and accompanying handbook is to help you avoid the mistakes that can lead to liability and identify best practices that will allow you to be successful as an elected or appointed official. SRSA presents In the Scope of Your Authority, Preventing Public Officials' Liability.
That's a lot of good information. Well, thanks, Bill. I'll see you tonight. All right. Oh, Mayor, do you have a few minutes to discuss some of those past mistakes?
Sure, Dan. Come on in. Have a seat.
Thank you.
You referred to Councilmember Patrick Smith. He promised during his campaign he would never allow Megamart to build a store in Cottonwood, and he was pretty vocal about it.
Stay away, Megamart! Stay away, Megamart!
I've had similar opinions about giant retailers, although I haven't been as vocal as Mr. Smith. Where'd he go wrong?
Well, I don't think he ever accepted the fact that as an individual council member, he really didn't have the authority to act on his own. That's why Smith was never able to get anything done. He was pretty vocal about the few issues he was interested in, but rarely worked to build consensus within the council. Dan, pretty much everything we do requires collaboration within the framework of our council. Elected officials can't get anything done as individuals.
I see your point.
So the first lesson is to think and act in terms of we, not I. Apart from a few duties vested in the mayor, the laws that govern our city don't give any powers to individual council members. We've got a diverse council with a lot of different perspectives, and we can only accomplish our goals by working together. Now that you've been elected, your role changes dramatically. You're no longer an outsider promoting your own agenda. You now have to work with your fellow council members to accomplish the city's goals as a collective body.
Let me ask you more about Councilmember Smith. The Megamart deal, it was approved by the council, although by a close vote. What problems did Smith cause?
Remember all of his anti-Megamart statements? When it came time for us to actually hear and act on Megamart's land use application, he should have recused himself.
So he shouldn't have voted.
That's right. He shouldn't have participated in the hearing or voted. Smith had made it well known that he was aligned with the Megamart opponents. When we're acting in a quasi-judicial capacity, such as when deciding on a land use application or liquor license, we must be fair and impartial. We can't do that if we've already made up our minds before the hearing. Councilmember Smith had made it clear that he opposed the Megamart application. He was not acting as a fair and impartial decision maker. Fortunately, the Megamart application was approved by a small margin. Otherwise, the city could have been accused of a due process violation.
Due process?
Yes, the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to a fair hearing as part of an applicant's due process right.
During my campaign, I talked with a lot of my neighbors who are also anti-growth. I expressed to them my concerns about protecting our small businesses from giant retailers. Will that prevent me from voting on similar issues?
Well, the question is, if one of those big retailers comes before the council with a land use application, can you be fair? Can you make your decision based only on the evidence you hear and the requirements of our land use code? And can you set aside your previous discussions with your neighbors?
I can't ignore my neighbors. They elected me to represent them, not ignore them.
I'm not saying ignore your neighbors, but when an application is pending, you should not have discussions with anyone outside of the hearing. Our city attorney calls these discussions ex parte contacts. Your decision in a quasi-judicial matter must be based on the evidence presented. So when your neighbors want to speak with you about a pending application, explain to them it's inappropriate for you to talk about the issue outside the hearing. Suggest that they come to the hearing so their concerns can be heard.
Well, last year I called Councilman Miller and asked him to vote no on the pit bull ordinance. Did we engage in an improper ex parte contact?
No, that was a different situation. The council's consideration of a pit bull ordinance was a legislative matter. They were not dealing with the rights of a specific applicant under an existing law. The council was considering a new citywide law, so they were acting as legislators. Lobbying and other ex parte contacts are acceptable in the legislative context. But when you're in a quasi-judicial role, you've got to think and act more like a judge and refrain from engaging in or allowing ex parte contacts.
It makes sense when you put it that way. It's important not to base my vote on my biases or prejudice and only consider the evidence presented at the hearing, like a judge.
Exactly. The other thing to keep in mind is to make sure you have no conflicts of interest when you're voting. If you were appearing before a judge and you learned he had financial or other conflicts of interest, you'd expect him to recuse himself, wouldn't you?
Well, sure.
Well, people who appear before us in a quasi-judicial matter expect the same. To be unbiased decision makers, we must be free from conflicts of interest. If we do have a conflict, we need to declare it, recuse ourselves, and not participate in the hearing or decision.
I think I understand. I think I recall reading in the paper about another incident involving Patrick Smith.
Oh, that was probably the lawsuit involving our library expansion. The council had selected a very qualified contractor to manage the project. Smith was always hanging around the construction site, thinking it was his job to micromanage the project. Needless to say, Smith ended up in a verbal confrontation with the contractor. Things got personal, and Smith started talking to other council members about terminating the guy's contract. He also spread some vicious personal rumors around town about the contractor.
That wasn't very smart. Did he get the contractor fired?
No, but the contractor sued Smith personally for defamation. Our insurance company declined to defend Smith because it was alleged he was acting outside the scope of his authorized duties and acting in a willful and wanton manner.
So that's why Smith had to pay for his own legal defense?
Yes, he was not acting within the scope of his authority as a council member when he started those vicious rumors.
I heard he had to take out a second mortgage to pay his lawyers and a large settlement.
Smith learned his lesson the hard way. Being outside the scope of one's authority or acting in a willful and wanton manner will result in a loss of liability protections and insurance coverages. That's good, thank you. Now, Patrick Smith isn't the only elected official who's gotten himself in some trouble. Our former mayor, Joe Appleby, put himself in the middle of a personnel issue.
I think I remember this case. Tammy Williams was the director of Public Works, right? Didn't she try to stop sexual harassment in the street division?
What do you think about wearing something like that to work?
Sure, Andy. Guys, I've told you about this before. You can't keep doing this. First, I need to see you in my office.
In trying to clean up the division, she fired the street supervisor, Bert Simpson. Mayor Appleby, who was drinking buddies with Simpson, was furious and made it his mission to get Tammy fired, and he succeeded.
You know, your job can be replaced.
She brought a lawsuit claiming the mayor retaliated against her for trying to eliminate the harassment. The jury awarded her $150,000 in punitive damages that Appleby had to pay out of his own pocket.
Wow. What were the key lessons in this case?
First, don't act on the basis of personal motives. It was obvious Mayor Appleby wanted to fire Tammy Williams to get revenge for his friend Bert, and that was not in the scope of his authority. Second, we need to delegate personnel issues to the city administration. The council shouldn't be dealing with individual employees other than those who report directly to the council, like our city administrator. We should be focusing on the major legislative and quasi-judicial issues and leave administrative matters to staff. And third, never retaliate against someone for exercising their legal rights. Not only is retaliation against the law, but these claims are among the most difficult and costly to defend. We also had another fallout from the Appleby litigation. The press learned during the trial that Appleby was telling a lot of inappropriate jokes, and he was emailing them to the entire council. So the media demanded to see all of the council's emails over several years. Our study sure looked bad after the press got a hold of those.
Well, I didn't realize emails were considered public records.
Sure. While there are narrow grounds for not releasing them under some circumstances, the basic rule is that emails may be public documents that anyone can review. If you don't want something splashed on the front page of the newspaper, we need to keep it out of our emails.
At least we're not the only city making these mistakes. Remember the scandal involving Councilman Arnold over in Clarksville after he got stopped for speeding?
Yes, He was caught on television yelling at the police officer for stopping him. I cringed when he shouted at the officer, "Don't you know who I am?" Talk about an abuse of power.
Yeah.
And that brings me to perhaps the most important lesson. As elected and appointed officials, we must use our powers wisely and with civility. To misuse our position is absolutely improper and is not within the scope of our authority. We shouldn't try to put ourselves above the law or try to get some sort of special privilege because of our position.
Explain what you mean by acting with civility.
Well, as elected officials, we're perceived as holding the most powerful positions in the city. Because of that perception, our words carry a lot of weight. A harsh or ill-considered comment from any of us, especially if made public, can be extremely harmful to our employees' morale, as well as our public image. I once heard Appleby refer to our female employees as the staff hotties. It was embarrassing. Also, we should not participate in or encourage staff bashing in public meetings. We need to keep the focus on issues, not personalities. And then during Tammy's lawsuit, some of the jokes the mayor told during executive sessions were made public. We took another bashing in the press for those. Negative behavior like that can affect our entire organization. If we set a bad example at the top, we can't be surprised when it filters through the entire workforce. I'm so glad we've moved on from those days.
This is eye-opening and a little frightening. Do we have any protections from liability?
Yes. Fortunately, we live in a state where our liability protections are strong. For one thing, we have an excellent Governmental Immunity Act. Our Public Officials Liability Handbook has a good summary of our liability protections. But to retain these protections, we must stay within the scope of our authority and not act in a willful and wanton manner.
You've used those terms before. What would be considered willful and wanton?
Well, the actual legal definition is found in the handbook, but basically, it's the kind of conduct that got Appleby in trouble. When he got Tammy fired, he was more than reckless in disregarding her legal rights, purposely trying to damage her career.
Do we have any other protections?
Sure, we have excellent personal immunities, recognized by our courts when acting on legislative and quasi-judicial matters. But we do not have strong immunities when dealing with administrative problems. That's another reason why we need to stay out of administrative issues.
Got it. Let the city manager do his job.
And finally, we've got good insurance coverage, but that coverage only applies